Hi friends, I'm Kevin. Let's talk about queer stuff and Jesus, and today we're going to talk about how to survive the holidays if you have a less than affirming or conservative family. This doesn't just go for gay people, this is for anybody who's got a crazy conservative family. So why don't you just grab some hot cocoa, pour some rum in it, and let's go to town. Unless you're underage, which I don't think that you should do that because it's against the law. Anyways, let's jump in. It has been quite a year since the election, hasn't it? It's been a lot of really uncovering a lot of casual racism in your family members. If you're at least you're like me, that you're discovering that, oh my gosh, like sometimes my grandpa says things that are totally not cool. Or maybe it's your cousin who's like, oh my gosh, like you hate black people and I didn't realize it. I don't know, maybe that happened to you, maybe that's just me, I don't know. But either way, I actually am lucky enough to where I can still go home for the holidays. I still get to be a part of my family's life. I count my blessings on that one because I know that's not the story for a lot of people. But even still, even though I have the privilege of getting to go home and see my family, it is still really difficult sometimes because I am different than they are. I see the world differently. So how do we walk into family spaces without losing our freaking minds? Well, I've got a couple of ideas for you. The first thing is setting your intention before you walk into a space, which sounds like hippy dippy yoga shit, and that's because it is hippy dippy yoga shit. But I'm telling you, it works. When you walk into a space, before you actually get there, tell yourself and talk to yourself and say, I know why I'm here. I'm here to spend time with my family. I'm here to love them well. I am not here to get into any debates. I am not here to get offended. I'm going to walk into this space and I'm going to love my family the best I can. And honestly, that may mean kind of like turning on some blinders, turning on some filters to where you just actively ignore a lot of the BS that might be happening in your family. But again, this is something I employ for myself. I choose intentionally to not engage around topics around politics, religion, LGBT stuff, because I just want my holidays to be a holiday. Now granted, you do need to talk to your family about racism, and you do need to talk to your family about sexism and homophobia and all the other obias out there. Again, it just depends on what you're able to do in the moment, and sometimes a family gathering is not that. So for me, I set my intention to say, I'm not here to debate with my family, I'm here to just have some pumpkin pie, drink some beer, chill out. That's what I'm here for. So again, set that in your mind, set that as your intention, knowing that you're going to encounter a lot of this stuff, and choose from the get-go to not let it rile you out. Because honestly, if you go in thinking that you're going to fight them, if you go in with your fists up, they're gonna have their fists up too, and before you know it, you're in a brawl. Go in with some open hands. Expect the best from them. Rather than looking for things to peck at, why don't you just hope for the best and expect the best from them? As the day goes on, you have to stick to your intentions. Otherwise, you can easily get sidetracked. You can easily fall off of your bliss wagon, if you will. Hashtag bliss wagon. Use that on the internet. I want to see it. Moving along, as you're going through, you might encounter some things that you just can't let it slide. And so in that, rather than saying, you can't say that, grandpa, you should ask your grandpa, cousin, uncle, whoever is saying the thing that's not right, well, how do your blank friends feel about it? So for example, if someone says something about Black Lives Matter being a terrorist group, you should say, hey, how do your black friends feel when you say something like that? Or if somebody says something about a pride parade being just a show of a bunch of godless heathens, you can say, hey cuzzo, like how do your gay friends feel when you say that? Something about a bathroom bill. How do your trans friends feel about that? Or something about Muslims. How do your Muslim friends feel about that? Because the answer is usually, oh, well, I don't have any black, trans, gay, Muslim friends. And then it's like, oh, that's such a surprise, family member number 1, 2, 3, and 4. What you're not doing in this scenario is pointing out their stupidity. What you are pointing out is that they have a lack of connection. And behind every personal policy that we hold, we need to have a practical connection to a real life person. Did you like that alliteration? So did I. And I'll say it again, personal policy needs to have a practical connection to a real life person. So if we have a belief about something about Muslim people, black people, queer people, we need to know a person in that group before we make a claim about them, or before we have a policy about them, or before we even have an opinion about them. And it moves people from being disgusted with a group or an other to saying, oh, these are actually people. A lot of times your family member did this unintentionally. A lot of the time, it's not that they're outright bigoted or trying to be mean, it's that they just don't know any different. And you are the person who can gently show them that the way they're thinking is a little bit dated, is a nice way of putting it. Again, if you don't try to shame them into this, but just really point out like, hey, what you're saying is hurtful. It's hurtful to me, it's hurtful to my friends. And I think that you should think differently. And you can leave it at that if you want to. And if it gets a little too heated, again, you can walk away. But again, that's an easy way to introduce differing narratives to your family. But if you are somebody who is going in there and like you feel like you might be able to engage with them, be ready to ask a lot of questions. Ask them about their experiences. Ask them about what they're watching on television, where they're getting their information. Because the more questions you ask, the more you're able to see the landscape of what they actually believe about something, and you're going to be able to better navigate their mind and their thought processes. And a lot of times you're going to be able to point out flaws in their own thought processes and their belief systems about any group, any policy, etc. But again, you have to be willing to ask the questions and not write people off as just being my idiot, bigoted cousin or uncle or whoever. If you ask people why they believe what they do, sometimes they don't even know. Again, a good opportunity to introduce a different narrative. When you're on the verge of something catastrophic or like something's like really boiling up, you should just really calm it down. Remember, keep your tone even and say, that's interesting. Could you tell me how you arrived at this? You can even ask specifically about their policy, or you could even ask, hey, what like politicians or thought leaders, who are the people that you're following that kind of like are shaping your understanding of this? When you ask questions, you get past the them versus us mentality, and then you're talking about your stories. And when you start talking about your stories, that is a lot more powerful. The thing is, like, you have to be willing. And if your family is getting volatile, if things are getting crazy, if people just do not want to talk about this and you just need to be there, this is my biggest tip for anybody. Grab yourself a glass of wine, grab yourself some bourbon, grab yourself whatever it is that you like to drink, and just live tweet the whole thing. Just don't say anything and just laugh. Because at the end of the day, you do love your family, and it's kind of crazy. But at the end of the day, like, what are you gonna do? You can't change 29 people in one day, can you? Or can you? If you do, like, send me a response video. I would love to know how you did that. But overall, the holidays are tough for so many people. So if you are someone who is fortunate enough to go home, you know, put on the full armor of God, because Lord knows we all need it. And in addition to the sword of the Spirit, have a drink in your hand, and you'll be just fine. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked it, you can like, you can share, you can subscribe, you can comment below. What are some things that you do to try and survive your conservative family during the holidays? I would personally love to hear it, because I'm always open to more tips. And if you think videos like this are important or good for you or good for your friends or good for the world, I would love for you to become a supporting partner on Patreon, where you can subscribe at like $1 a month and get some sweet perks. All that information is down below, as well as other ways for you to connect with me through social media. I have a blog, I've got a podcast, I got this channel, I've got a newsletter, I've got a daily devotional. There's a whole lot of ways to connect with me, and I'd love to connect with you. So hit me up on the internet somewhere. I love you so much. I'll talk to you soon. Happy holidays. Bye.